This is the story of the sun pad on our boat. There it is, 2007 SeaRay 205 Sport. What happened is first one day going down the road, the sun pad, the wind got under it, flipped it over, put a hole in it, hole in the fabric, and one thing led to another. It rotted. We needed to replace it. And so I decided to rebuild the sun deck, sun pad, whatever you want to call it, and have it just new. I would just take the old one off, use it as a pattern, build a new one, have it upholstered, and yeah. So I did that. And I shot a video the day that we were taking the sun pad off the boat, but the wind noise was horrific. I just decided I would not try to get you to watch a video with all of that wind noise in it. So you see the boat behind me with the new sun pad on it. But the next shot, I'm going to be in the shop with the old sun pad on a table in front of me, about to disassemble it. And I hope you'll follow.
Go, 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 go.
So we've got here in the shop, got a nice big shop to work in here. I'm already kind of intrigued. Come over here. I'm already kind of intrigued about this construction right here. But we're just gonna start taking it apart, taking pictures as we do so we'll know exactly how to put it back together if we run into a problem, and for the upholsterer. So what I've done is I took these off to get that fabric off that was here, but I put them back so I wouldn't forget where they are. And then these brackets here that hold the lift rods, or whatever you call them, and these bolts. Just gonna leave all of that in place. And so what I'm doing now is I'm working my way down, and I'm pulling the fabric and the staples out. So what I'm doing is I'm working my way around. I'm pulling the old fabric off. I'm using this big stiff screwdriver, at least I was, to get under the fabric and pry the staples loose. On a good note, my cameraman brought me some coffee. Fresh French roast coffee from the Curie. So we'll keep going. Be patient. You know, my YouTube channel is called, and I've renamed it 2 or 3 times because I've put some computer stuff on it, but bikes, boats, and Bible. Bikes because I like to ride motorcycles. I have a Harley Davidson Ultra Classic. And boats because we have a boat and I'm doing work on it. And Bible because I'm a Christian believer. I believe in the Word of God. All right, so I got all the cover off of it, and the cushions are not in bad shape. They just need to dry out. But show you what I got so far. So here we go. This is the front right here. This is the part that overlaps the back bench, and it's a lean back. When you lean back, the logo was right there, and we're not going to redo the logo. My upholsterer is going to quit for that. And this is the back. You see that all the curvature kind of defines where the boat was at. The bottom piece there is broke off. I'm waiting on my son to get back with a marker because I'm going to mark all of these pieces before we take them off. So what I did is I took the Sharpie and I labeled this thing in several places so that my upholsterer will know how it laid. I think he's going to be able to reuse all of this cushion, and that's going to save me a considerable amount of money. And And so what I'm doing now is I'm just detaching the cushion from the deck, and we'll lay it to the side. I put it out in the sun so it could dry out. Trip number one to the hardware store. I just go ahead and pull around back. I know these guys. Just hit the button. So the old deck is a two-piece part. I just got one of them up here, and I'm tracing it out on this sheet of 1/2-inch ply wood. And I still have some reservations with this wood, simply because it's just regular decking. And I'm going to treat it with treatment, and then I'm going to put about 4 coats of oil-based paint on it to seal it from the water. But we'll see. That's good. I should have my earplugs in and my safety glasses on. Got to find that stuff. That's good, Adam. Here, let me go. I took it over here. Adam's videoing us. We got some help from the pro. Don't need a whole lot more. Using old glue. Here we go. I should have done bought another small bottle, but that wasn't that much. I think it's about $22 a gallon. And I've had that ever since James passed away. Gluing and screwing on a brace for the back, where you sit on the back bench. I got Paw out here helping me. He just thought he was getting a nap.
So we're out here in the shop. As you can see behind me, my dad and grandpa are working on the boat deck. Going very slow, I might add. And we'll keep you updated on what's going on. Talk to y'all later.
You know what? I wish that I knew what all these pieces were called. All I know is that I'm tracing them out. So that I can cut them. It's kind of hard because of all the staples and stuff that I haven't taken out. And, so I need to cut inside the line because, all right, I'm gonna turn this around. I had to cut this in half. Because both sides of it were not, the other side of this was broke off, so it wasn't gonna help me. So, so we just did a dry run fit. We put it on the boat. It fits. I wished I'd have shot some video of it, but my cameraman was helping me. And so now I'm drilling these, I'm assuming they're ventilation holes, even though it's going to be upholstery on it. The old lid had these holes all in random places, so I figure if SeaRay thought that was important, maybe I ought to put them there too. It's day 2, and this morning, all I'm going to be doing is putting some hardware on the sun deck, and then I'm going to do a little sanding around the edges just to make sure the edges are soft and ready for the upholstery, and then I'm gonna start putting some Thompson's water seal on it. I'm gonna put 2 or 3 coats of Thompson's on it, and then I'm going to give it about 3 or 4 coats of oil-based paint. And then I may cover that with something else. All in an attempt to make it as waterproof as possible. So, it's Saturday morning, a little chilly in the shop, but here we go. I just pulled back in from a trip to the hardware store this morning. And that's the thing about these kinds of projects for me is the endless trips to the hardware store. I've tried to keep some hardware on hand, keep it organized. But because I just don't do that many projects over the years, somebody, I don't know. So anyway, I just went to the hardware store to pick up some new bolts and nuts and things to attach some hardware to the swim deck itself. And I'm actually sitting here and facing the boat. And there she sits. 2008 SeaRay 205 Sport. I'm building a new sun deck for it. I don't have my cameraman today because my wife is keeping grandkids, and my cameraman is my 38-year-old special needs son. His name is Adam, and he's a great guy, but he's helping his mama with nieces and nephews right now, so I'm in here by myself. But anyway, let me just show you what I got. It's kind of a mess right now. This is the bottom of the new sun deck. And it just, I've got holes drilled in it. The old deck had these holes. I'm assuming these are for engine ventilation. And so I've done that. And I've got a few screws I got to dress up where I missed right there. And I don't really understand the design. I mean, they wanted some curvature, I'm assuming, to the swim deck, and one sheet of plywood wouldn't do it. So they pieced a piece on, so I just replicated it, but they had staples. I mean, like 3,000 staples running along the seam, holding it together. Well, I don't have a staple gun to shoot them kind of staples, and my seam is not as neat as theirs, so I bought these things. I don't even know what you call them, brackets, and to hold this together. And then it's held together again on the bottom side by that board, which has got nails sticking through it, a screw sticking through it. I got to do something about. But anyway, I'm about to. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take my belt sander and I'm going to work on dressing up the edges just a little bit. They're just a little sloppy. I'm going to work on that. And then I'm going to clean it off, and we're going to get started with the Thompson's water seal. I'm not 100% finished with construction, but I'm at a standstill because I don't know what to do. So I'm gonna start water treating it, sealing it. I thought I had some Thompsons, but what I have is this. Should be just as good. Olympic's a good name. And so I'm gonna start coating the bottom side of this thing with Thompsons, and then I took off all these brackets. I'm gonna put them back on after I do the water seal. All right, coat one of the water seal is on the bottom. You can see it glistening there a little bit. It's soaking right in, which is, I guess, a good sign to start with. And that took all of maybe 5 minutes. So now I've got a little bit of a construction project over here. This is where the cushion goes. You lean back and it circles around. I know it's hard to tell what I'm talking about because it's upside down, but this is where I have to do the work. And this makes the curve. And I gotta make sure, I gotta figure out how to make all that work. All right, so here's the dry run. Everything looks pretty good.
Be, standing up, I was wondering.
I'm gonna cut these off.
After I want to put that thick cushion on there, that's gonna cover it anyway.
I'm gonna cut them off. I don't think they're worth the trouble. Other than that, it looks pretty good. All right, so we set it up here for a dry run just to make sure everything was looking good. And we've decided to cut these wings off. They're just for decoration and it's just too complicated. So, this piece of wood right here is the only piece that I'm using from the original deck. It was okay. And there's the piano hinge under there. Putting the second coat of water. It seems when I'm doing a project that I spend more time inside of this truck, or as much time inside of this truck as I do working. Trip to the hardware store this morning and trip to Walmart this afternoon, but we're getting it done. I've been spending some time out here painting this sun deck. So what I'm using is Rust-Oleum, flat black, oil base. And it don't look real flat right now because I've just finished painting this side. The other side already has a coat. And I mean, I'm not really concerned about what it looks like. I'm more concerned about making sure I protect the wood, and I really just poured it to it. But what I'm gonna do now, when it dries, is I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna caulk some spots that, when painting, like this down here, I'm gonna caulk some spots, and then I'm gonna put another coat of paint on it. I got an early start this morning, about an hour ago, hour and a half ago. And I came out here and flipped my sun deck over. And I've been working on filling in any place where I think water will collect when it gets in, not if it gets under the cover, but when. And so what this is just household caulk with silicone in it. Now, I know, you know, it's marine. It's, you know, I've watched the videos. I've seen the guys. Don't use household stuff. But this is going to be under a very thick cushion and then upholstered. So I think it's going to be okay. I haven't taken a lot of care to be, I didn't take a lot of care with it. I just kind of globbed it in there, rubbed it off a little bit with my finger because it's got to be covered up with cushion and upholstery. So what I'm going to do when this caulk and silicone has a chance to dry, I'm going to go with at least one more coat of the black oil-based paint. And then when that dries, I'm gonna go, since this is the top, this is where I need the most water resistance, I'm gonna go over the top of that with polyurethane. I brought it back inside. I was really having some issues with the fact that the oil-based paint was looking dry, but it was still feeling kind of tacky. And maybe I was being too impatient or something, but I have put a coat of oil-based polyurethane on it. It's wet, I just put it on there to make it as water resistant as I can. And my hope is that in the morning or tomorrow when I come check it, that it'll be dry and it'll be hard. I can load it up and take it to the upholsterer. Fingers crossed, we're praying.
Our work really slowed down whenever I started painting the deck. Yeah, that's a blow dryer Adam's using. And the paint's really slow and dry. And the reason we had the blow dryer going is because I just put more paint on there because I painted around some of the hardware that I put on there, and I'm wanting to get that paint dry so I can flip the thing back over. The other side is giving us the most difficulty because I put some lacquer on it to make it more water resistant since it's the top, and it's not hardening. Now this is more like it. I'm sitting down with a coffee. Adam's up working. That's the way it ought to be. So much has happened since I was sitting in the shop drinking coffee while Adam was working. And this is probably maybe 3 weeks later. Anyway, we were already dealing with the coronavirus when we were shooting that stuff, but then it got worse, as you know, and the quarantines and things are taking place. And but the good news is that I did finish the sun pad. I did get it upholstered, and I do have it installed on the boat, which I'm excited about. We've had the boat out twice with the new sun pad, and it's working well. I got gas lifts under it so that when I raise it to access the storage and the engine and all that stuff, it stays up. And I'm going to show it to you. The boat's sitting outside, but I'm about to back it up into the storage. But this is the new sun pad. Ain't it a beaut? The straps down there are installed as snaps to hold it down when we're pulling the boat. And see the angles? Under here is the hinge where we attached it. And I'm very pleased with how it turned out. And so this is not the best shot. I'm looking into the sun, but just had the boat buffed and wet sanded, and the guys coming over this afternoon to do a couple of last minute details. But all in all, I think for a boat that is 13 years old, for a boat that's 13 years old, this boat's looking pretty good. I worked on the dash, put new switches in it, and the boat's running great. It's only got 155 hours on it. Isn't that amazing for an 07? But that's the end of this long video. If you stuck it out, I'm glad you did. And I'll be back with more stuff. Adios, amigos.